My name is Buffy Catella, and I'm joined here with Shane. Shane, what's your last name?
Hopkins, Shane Joseph Hopkins.
That's a nice name. That's a nice author name. Shane, I'm so happy that you're here on Book Talk this week. So let's just jump right into this. What is the title of your book and what is it about?
The title of my book is Welcome to the Absolutely Astounding Life of Whistle Evil Fonzarelli Star. Very long title, but very short chapters. So it's a good read. It is about a boy who grows up in northern New Hampshire, and he travels throughout the country, and it chronicles his entire life. He runs into adventure after adventure, character after character. And it's just every chapter is like its own little story. So it's kind of a neat way to do it.
So how did you come up with this idea for this book?
Well, Buffy, I had this idea long years ago. And I always liked the name Whistle because it just, to me, seems like a traveling type of name. Like it just kind of flows well. And then my two heroes growing up were Evel Knievel and the famous stuntman, and Arthur Fonzarelli, the Fonz from Happy Days. And then Star with two R's. Actually, some people have said, is that from Ringo Starr, the drummer? And consciously not, but maybe it was, because maybe I just have rounded the whole thing together, and the whole name together works very well in my mind.
Back to your book. So did you self-publish it, or did you go through a publisher to do it?
I self-published it through Stillwater River Publications in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Steve and Dawn Porter are the owners. And they were great from day one, and I highly recommend it. And in this day and age, self-publishing is a very great thing, because my mom actually published 2 books back years ago, and she actually didn't have the luxury of this. So she actually had to make her own publishing company, Questover Books, and she did that to get her books published. So yes, I self-published, and it has been beyond helpful.
So I heard that you are working on an audiobook for this book, and what other plans do you have for this book and this, I guess, this great idea that you have?
Well, Buffy, the book is out now, and it's doing quite well. In September, I think, will be the release of the audiobook, and I'm working with a lot of talented people. I got a good team behind me. I got musical director, editor, all this stuff, because I think we're coming up with a new genre of audiobook, because everyone I have talked to so far has not heard of a book with an original music score with it, including like sound effects. So if a car goes by, you'll hear like, and so I think that's pretty cool. And if you and I read the same book or listen to the same book, you'll see a character in one way. I'll see a character in a completely different way. No 2 people will ever see that character in the same way. So I look at it like this. It's a movie without the actual video. So if 1 million people listen to it, I will have just made 1 million different original movies. Then after that, we will move on to, I have a second book that I'm well into writing. So we'll take it from there.
So is your second book a sequel, or is it's a standalone, a different thing?
It is a standalone book. A sequel is not out of the question, but this is going to be a collection of short stories. And there's going to be a lot of them because they are kind of short, because I like the short chapters. I like the short stories because it keeps you into it, entertained. So they will be short stories that you just go for a quick adventure. You can go to bed that night. The next night, read another one. So, yeah.
No, that makes sense. I like short chapters too. It makes it easier to get through a book. I totally agree with that. In terms of your first book, though, I heard, do you have plans on making it into a movie? Like, what are you thinking?
Thank you for asking that. So the book's out, like I said, and you can get it at you can go to my website, www.shanejhopkins.com, or email me, shanejhopkins@yahoo.com. Wait, I'm sorry. You'll edit this. What did you ask?
I just asked you, do you have plans on making this into a movie?
Yes. Okay. So Shane J. Blah, blah. And yes, Buffy, there is plans to make a movie. We're going to get through the book being released, the audiobook being released, and we will be entertaining ideas for movies. We just have to find the right connection to make it all happen.
So would you yourself write the screenplay, or are you going to try and option it off to somebody else to write?
No, I actually have already narrated the whole thing, not the screenplay, but the audiobook. And that's kind of unique. Not many authors actually narrate their own book. And I think that's a plus, because I know exactly what I'm trying to convey in the story, where if you have somebody else read it, they might not quite know exactly. They're just reading it, whatever. So I will do that. I have a couple people in mind to play Whistle in the movie. So we'll explore that when it gets closer.
I was going to say, my final question about the potential movie, do you see it as a feature, or do you see it as a short?
No, a feature. This book is a novel. It's not a short book. It's a novel. And I do want to stress, because I make it a point to say this in every interview, this is not a children's book. So don't have your 7-year-old kid read it. It's an adventure.
Good to know. Not a children's book.
Yeah.
But now I'd like to transition more into your life. So what is your story? Where are you from, and how did you end up where you are now?
Well, I was born in California, but I grew up in New Hampshire, where Whistle's life starts. Took me a long time to convince my wife that this book is not about me. She's like, "This is you." I'm like, "No, it is not me." It does start out with some of my experiences as a child, just to get everything rolling. And then from there out, there's threads of my experiences through my life, but it's not about me. So I had to stress that. So I grew up in New Hampshire, joined the Navy, and then I became a firefighter down here in Newport, Rhode Island. And I have 23 years on, and I got 2 years left. Then I'm going to retire. So the whole writing thing is a perfect narrating is a perfect transition from firefighting.
It's so interesting, because I've never met a firefighter who also did writing stuff on the side, I guess. So
neither have I.
Oh, you're the only one. Okay, good to know.
Neither have I.
Have you always wanted to be a writer, or why did you want to be a writer? And I guess, how did you get to where you are now with that?
Well, growing up, I did a lot of theater, which I believe you do as well. A lot of theater. I did a good amount of stand-up comedy and a lot of writing through high school. I was such a great student in high school that I happened to have to visit summer school once or twice. And we had a history class, and the night before the paper was due, I wrote a story. Like, it had nothing to do with the class. And it was about a guy on a subway, and the kids are messing with him and the whole thing. And the whole story, it was actually a cool story. And I got an A+ on it in a history class. And the teacher wrote, because I can't give you an A++. So I was like, okay, this whole creative side of like acting, writing, comedy, all that stuff has always intrigued me. So now I'm at the point in my life where I can go into that and pursue it fully, you know? So, yeah.
Well, what is your goal as a writer now that you're really pursuing it? What
Mhm.
milestone
Well,
would you like to reach?
well, like we talked about, I got so much going on right now between the book, the audiobook, and then the next book, and then possibly a movie after that. I think my plate's pretty full right now. And then after that, I'm gonna build my own narration studio and write and work on narrating my projects and other people's projects. And I'll just go with that.
That's really cool. Where do you think do you have any idea where you want to put the studio or?
Yeah, actually, we have a garage. I got to build the next level on that. The garage is 28 by 28, so it's big. And the studio/office will be up there.
So you're gonna have you're making a whole kind of company type thing out of this. That's
I
so
think it
you think it could be something.
I think it could roll into that. I got a great team behind me. My editor, Ben Drum, my music director, Jay Parker, my best friend, guitarist, Eric Loffick. It's a big team. And we're putting all this together, and it seems like something that could really take off and go somewhere.
So I always like to have fun questions related to people's books.
But
So similar to your character Whistle, what is the longest trail that you have rode on, both figuratively and literally?
well, literally, I have walked all of I've walked from Concord, New Hampshire to Massachusetts. I've walked the North-South Trail in Rhode Island with my best friend Eric Law, and I have hiked. And this is something that I think is really cool about Whistle is a lot of his traveling is done hiking. And so I have literally hiked endless miles. Um, I would say that the figurative road that I have traveled is basically life in general, because it is adventure after adventure. And that's what I always look for. Whether it's, through high school, whether it's being in the military, whether it's firefighting, whether it's writing the book. We built this cabin, like physically built this cabin ourselves. I lived in a tent for a year, and then I graduated to a shed. Then I graduated to the basement, and then we finally moved in. So the adventure just keeps going, and it's a long but a fun road.
So why did you build a cabin for your house? Like, how did that happen?
Well, I grew up in New Hampshire, and I ended up down in Rhode Island, and we found this piece of land. It's our little mountain. It's not really a mountain, but the driveway is pretty crazy. And some other people wanted to buy it, but they were told it was an unbuildable lot. And then my kind of naiveness, I pointed and said, I want to live up there. So built a cabin, and we're in the middle of a bunch of woods.
You're literally living in a cabin in the woods.
Yes, we have 6 acres, and our back property is 500 acres of conservation land. And then our front property is 3,500 acres of conservation land. So we're out there.
Yeah, you're really out there.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you miss civilization, or are you okay being where you
No,
are?
we're not that far out there.
I know, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah. I don't actually, Buffy, if you can come to where you live and say it's your favorite place on earth, and we've traveled a lot, say it's your favorite place on earth, then I think you win, because it's not where you just live, it's where you truly want to be.
Yeah, I would say I'm 21 and I have not reached that point in my life yet. So good to know that one day I might be able to do that.
No, I can clearly see that you will.
One day. Life is so long, and we've got a long road ahead. A good road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, the adventure.
The adventure, which is, I think, what we kind of need more of nowadays, right? Especially out of COVID. Now people really want to go on those big adventures, I guess. Is your book set in present day, or is it a period piece type thing?
Well, he's born September 11th, 1970 at 9:11 p.m. And I was born September 11th, 1970. And being a firefighter is kind of ironic with 9/11. But so it goes from 1970 to when I don't want to give too much away. It goes from 70 to when it ends. Yes.
No spoilers. I appreciate that. So you're keeping us in suspense. I like how it's a vague. You've given us a vague outline of the story, but that's good, because now I'm curious about what it is actually about, like what's actually going to happen in it. It's very interesting to me.
Yes, and I will gladly send you a copy for you to.
Oh yeah, no, I kind of want to read it now. I'm serious.
Oh, kind of want to read it? Come on.
I was reading what people were saying on Amazon, and I was like, oh, okay, people are really into this. This is really it seems really interesting to me. So especially the fact that I like how you're utilizing different forms of media for this. Like you're really looking at the audiobook and seeing what you can do with that, and seeing, a potential movie. Like you really seem like you have an idea of where you can take it. And that's very forward thinking of you, and I commend you for that.
Thank you. And it is funny because it just started out. So you were asking me earlier about like writing, and my wife and her mom went to Israel on a vacation for 2 weeks, and I can't type. I mean, I can peck, but I can't type. So I grabbed a notebook and a pen, and I started writing. And by the time she came back, I said, yeah, I got like 6, 7 chapters done. I'm writing a book. And she knows me, so she's like, okay. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And I would sit there night after night, and she would sit there. And Buffy, what was really cool is sometimes I would say to her, like, hey, if you're staying at a motel in a bog, like in a boggy area in Louisiana, what would the name of that motel be? And she would say a name, and I would go, okay. So it was really cool. So it's been an adventure for both of us. And I do dedicate the book to her, because she has put up with me tremendously.
Yeah, it seems like you guys have a good relationship. So you dedicated the book to her. Seems like she contributed to the books in some way, in a lot of ways, right? What other ways has she helped you through this process?
Just a lot of the support. And it might be like a tiny little thing, but like if I sat and I wrote in complete silence, I couldn't do it. I'd be like, she would just literally sit there, watch TV, and that background noise would I need that. And then her input on certain things. There's a character that Whistle meets in Boston. I'll just say in Boston. She came up with a name, and it's one of the best characters in the whole book. It's kind of like Whistle's guide through the rest of the book. She came up with that name. And like I said, just her support in general has been incredible.
Well, is there anything else that you want to talk about before we wrap this up? Do you have anything you want to touch on related to the book or anything really?
Once again, ShaneJHopkins.com, ShaneJHopkins@yahoo.com. I'm on Facebook. You can go right to my Facebook page from my website. Other than that, no, I think we've kind of covered everything. The book's out there. The audiobook's coming. Then we'll start working on movie deals. The next book is coming. The next book should be about this time next year, and it's called Beautiful Nightmares, a kaleidoscope of twisted twists. Once again, long titles, short chapters. That's kind of my way I like to do it.
That's your MO, is the
Yes.
long titles and short
I was
chapters.
going to say MO, but yes.
Yeah, no, I'm reading your mind. Yeah, that's so awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to come onto this show, Shane. It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Book Talk. It's been great. Again, Shane, I'm so happy that you were able to join us. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you for watching.